Something as simple as alliteration sometimes can also help that cause. A bloodthirsty killer was dubbed Jihadi John. Remember this guy? He severed the heads of journalists who were doing nothing more than covering the Syrian conflict, nothing remotely close to the Quranic allowances for violence. I spoke with Professor Mia Bloom. She's at Georgia State about jihad. We talked about how the word is understood within the Islamic community in America and abroad, and about some common misperceptions from the outside. Professor Bloom, jihad, obviously a source of contention the world over and for much of history. I wonder, how difficult is it to mold what people know? Who gets to have the dominant say?
The biggest challenge is that there's two kinds of jihad. And so when we say jihad, we are likely talking about a completely different jihad than most regular Muslims. So there's the greater jihad, the big jihad, and the small jihad. The greater jihad is the struggle. It means jahada, an effort or to strive. And so that's the effort to be a good person, give to charity, fast during Ramadan, not drink alcohol or eat pork, which are delicious, like the bigger struggle. The lesser jihad is the jihad that we think of in the West when we hear that word, and that's holy war.
Could you tell us, inside this faith, how many U.S. Muslims proportionally, and I'm guessing it's very high, understand jihad to mean something that's personal, something that has to do with their faith, it's nothing external or violent?
Well, I don't want to say it's nothing, because the lesser jihad still exists. But the moment someone starts the process of conversion to Islam, that's going to be lesson number one, or maybe lesson number two. Lesson number one is there is only one God, so there's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. But lesson two is going to be what the different jihads mean, and the bigger one is the struggle within yourself. It's one of the reasons why it's such a fast-growing religion, because if you realize the very positive elements of it, then you understand why so many people are converting, because otherwise, if it was just about violence, you couldn't possibly understand why people would be drawn to it.
To be able to control things like definitions in the Catholic Church, it's really easy because there's the Vatican. In the Southern Baptist Convention, there is the president of that. In Islam, it's not quite so concentrated to where you can go to just one person and say, what does this mean?
So within the major dominant Shia, you do have a kind of structure like in the Catholic Church. Okay. And within the major dominant Sunni, you do have sources of authority, they call them jurisprudence, that are well respected. The biggest problem is that these jihadis, these violent Salafis, have overtaken. It would be like David Koresh representing Christianity. These are not the mainstream. They're not even close to being the majority. And yet we give them so much more credibility than we do the official sources of information and theology.
I know Sunni, Shia, that goes back a long, long time. How long does it go back to this disagreement over the correct meaning, the global meaning of jihad?
The major difference within the Sunni faith had to be whether you were the official Islam, where the governments were sanctioning some of these behaviors, versus if you were almost like the rebel Islam. And so bin Laden would have been a rebel Islam. But even within Al-Qaeda, you had these different personalities, to the point that the original founder of Al-Qaeda, Abdullah Azzam, who was a Palestinian, was killed under very mysterious circumstances.